I like cash. That might sound like a bit of a strange thing coming from a silver and gold stacker because often cash, fiat currency is the enemy. But I quite like it because it allows me to maintain a modicum of privacy in a pretty crazy world that we live in right now. There are other avenues by which you can do that at the moment with gold and silver. Gold backs is one of them. Maybe even denominated coins like this £50 coin that is a Silver Britannia. Gold and silver. Are they really practical to use instead of cash to maintain privacy? Are we kind of kidding ourselves? I've got a bit of bad news for you all because we're in the digital crypto world of AI algorithms. HMRC know, the Fed know, the IRS know if you've been buying a lot of gold and silver. They know if you've got a lot of cash. They know if you're using a lot of cash. It's just the way the world is right now. So is cash going to die and get rid of? Is gold and silver going to replace it? Hard to know. These are my thoughts on it. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here. Welcome to another Precious Metal Ramble where we have down-to-earth discussions about all things precious and shiny. I want to ask, will these precious and shiny things replace cash anytime soon? This stuff over here. This is £1,000 in cash that I got out of the bank today. Was it difficult? Not particularly. I had to answer a few questions that sort of made me feel like they were asking whether I was a money launderer or tax evader or basically just a drug dealer. But, you know, it is what it is. I asked for it specifically in £50 notes and they said they'd have to go get it from the vault. I'll talk more about that experience as we go. But cash is king, at least for now, in this digital world. I don't know how long that will be. Will gold and silver replace it? I don't think so. You know, there are a lot of products right now that pretend to be a replacement for cash, gold backs being one of them. And I use the word pretend there deliberately because I don't think that this stuff, or even just taking some sovereigns, some silver eagles, or even a big chunky bar of silver to a shop to pay for goods and services is something that will happen as the norm will be in the future. I think cash will still rule the roost, but I also think that cash at some point down the line will go because, as I said, banks will ask you questions about the cash that you're taking out, the cash that you've got. They'll assume the worst. They will make you feel like you are doing something wrong. And I value privacy massively. I always have some cash on me. I like to be able to pay for things in cash because I don't like the idea of being tracked every single moment of my life, which is what we are doing right now when we use our phones, our credit cards, our debit cards, our watches, whatever it might be to pay for things. So there are a lot of issues at stake here, and I just wanted to share my thoughts on whether or not I think gold and silver are the answer to it, because unfortunately, even by using this stuff, we have to interact with that stuff in one way or another, whether it's a £50 note in our hands or whether it's just numbers on a screen in our bank account. We have to pay the mortgage, we have to fill up the car, we have to pay for groceries, and the practicality of using gold and silver for that is limited. So join me on my journey to 100,000 subscribers. We recently passed 97,000, and when we get to 100,000, we will be doing a giveaway for this 1 kilo silver cube that yours truly made. So make sure you subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up button as we go throughout this video. So, privacy. That's the thing that I like most, and one of the reasons why I consistently have a little bit of cash in my life at all times. Now, this is more cash than I would tend to care to have in the home at any one time. £1,000, a full bag, as they say in gangsterland movies. But it is nice to have cash when you might need it. You just never know when there might be a technology failure, or as I said, you just want to remain off the books. And that's not necessarily meaning that you're deliberately committing tax fraud or you're buying illegal goods and services. It's just the general privacy of things, you know. You don't want the government to know absolutely everything of what you're buying and where you're buying it from. And I'm an advocate for that. I do think that's important. It's one of the things that I think is very important in life. But gold and silver are not an answer to that problem. Getting cash out the bank, it's not that difficult. Like £1,000 here, I've been a proponent of having multiple bank accounts for a very long time. I could have quite easily gone to the cash machine with I've literally got 6 or 7 current accounts. So I could have put the £300 or the £250 amount in each one, taken it all out in one go, job done. And I would have had probably over £1,000 maximum in a day. But most of the times at the moment, if you go into the bank, you can get cash out. You just have to answer some questions. They think either you're being scammed or that you're maybe looking to scam someone. I don't know. There's all these veiled questions about, what are you using the money for? And I'm always very polite and just saying, well, that's not any of your business. I just require the cash, please. And that's just my answer to them. But it's not difficult to get the cash, but I have heard a lot of horror stories about people being not able to get cash. The bank's just being funny about it. So the alternative of the idea of using silver in society, I'm afraid, is a flight of fancy. Now, there's a reason I have this coin out here, because this is a £50 Britannia coin. Now, let's ignore the fact that the price of silver for this coin is now roughly £60, but once upon a time there was a huge craze of people taking these coins and £100 coins and £20 coins and spending them in petrol stations and various other places, because they are legal tender coins, they are currency, and you could buy them for less than their face value on eBay and the likes and get value out of them. So there were a lot of times where that was a big fight, a lot of times when that was a big fight for things. And there were people who were arrested over this kind of stuff. And that's just, I've got no time for that. Why would you want to go down to the shops or to a restaurant and be like, yeah, I've just incurred this bill. I'm going to pay for it in gold backs. You said on your website you accept it. And then they say, no, actually, that's not right, or you didn't understand that right. And then there's an argy-bargy that gets out, and then maybe the cops are called, and it's just, well, who's got time for that in their life? Nobody. There are going to be examples within a community where you can pay for goods and services with gold and or silver. I've had that before. I've had people pay me for certain goods and services with silver. I have to record that. I have to record that through my bookkeeping. I have to pay tax on the, obviously, business activities and the profits I make. But that's just part of it. And let me tell you, when I was audited by HMRC, they were keen to see the records of those transactions because they were recorded within my bookkeeping. They were sent to HMRC. Now, there are a lot of people who don't do that. And I'm not advocating in any way that people do that, but that's the assumption these days for cash. And a lot of cash businesses now are facing, well, a rolling sovereign at the beginning of the video, and now we've got an errant £50 note. There are a lot of people right now who advocate that if you get cash, you just, well, that one never existed. Lost that one in an unfortunate boating accident. Perhaps they only declare a certain amount of cash that goes in, or they get a discount on VAT. That's all very, very illegal and not good. And HMRC will know. And this is the problem with gold and silver, is that to acquire this stuff, you either need to go and get a bunch of this stuff out of the bank, and then there'll be a record of that coming out of the bank, or you need to have swaps. So there are a lot of people now who talk about the swap ratio for silver to gold, and there are a lot of people who want to swap stuff that's not CGT exempt for CGT exempt stuff because they realized, oh God, the £500 bar that I bought for £200 last year is currently worth half my tax-free allowance, and I've got 100 of them or whatever. I get emails every day of people asking to swap their non-CGT silver for CGT gold, and I'm like, it's not something that I can facilitate. My best recommendation to you is to sell it and use the proceeds, pay your tax bill, and buy your gold, because unfortunately there will always be a record of it, unless you are literally going down to the pub to see Joe Bloggs in a trench coat. There will always be a record of that original transaction where you bought the silver or where you bought the gold. And people think they'll still be able to get away with it over time. But remember this, if you took this table full of sovereigns down to a bullion dealer and you cashed it in, great, good for you. But a large amount of money will go into your bank account. If you think in the UK that you can go to a bullion dealer and you can get, let's call it £900 a sovereign, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12, 13, 14, 15 sovereigns. If you reckon you can get 13 grand or thereabouts in cash from a bullion dealer these days, you're having a giraffe, as they say. You're nowhere near going to get your full bag from that. And even if you did, what are you going to do with that money? HMRC will know that you've never spent money on groceries or petrol, or, they're going to ask you how you've subsided. For me, when I take cash out of the bank, there's a record of that cash coming out of the bank. So if ever, not that I'm expecting it on the small scale by which I use cash in society, but if ever I was fully audited and they threw the book at me and was like, you haven't paid for anything on your debit card in the last year, I'd be like, yeah, because I get a bunch of cash out every month from the bank and I use that instead. That's a clear record trail. But if you took all those sovereigns in and you cashed them into the bank and you had a certain amount of money come into your bank account, and then that bank reported you to HMRC, or ask you to prove to them about anti-money laundering regulations. Where did you get that money from? You're going to have to prove. And then they'll ask, well, where did you get the sovereigns from? How, if you can't prove that you bought these sovereigns from somewhere, and you've only got records proving that you bought a bunch of silver bars from a bullion dealer, you can see the dots here. And HMRC they know everything. They have this really intelligent AI. It's called the Connect system. And they know everything. When I was audited by them, I can't stress this enough. If I could have filmed and published a video of my discussions with HMRC, I would have done. Of course, there's a lot of private information there. There's a lot of confidential information in there. There's a lot of customer information in there as well. I would have done. I would have been able to, if I would have been able to, I would have shared that video of that discussion, because it was really, really interesting. Really interesting. And the level to which they knew quite quickly that I wasn't trying to pull the wool over their eyes. They knew that I wasn't hiding anything. They knew I had good records. But they said to me that they know very quickly when people have been hiding things. And they find out. And there are a lot of people who don't take this seriously. And like I said, you sell your sovereigns that you've traded from silver, you've kept that off the books, you've tried to use cash, but you've got money in the bank, you've got your mortgage payment to pay or your bills or whatever it is. And then suddenly HMRC comes along with a big brown letter and they say, we'd like to investigate your tax affairs or this CGT that we think you owe. And then the case is on you to prove otherwise. And that's a scary prospect, let me tell you, because they will throw the book at you. They will know straight away. And can you say to an HMRC agent face to face, I lost all my gold or all my silver in an unfortunate boating accident? I think not. I honestly think a lot of people are being very naive about it. Now, I'm not saying everybody's going to get caught, or everybody, and even people who get caught who are not doing anything wrong, you'll need to have good records to prove you're not in the wrong. I'm not saying everybody's going to get picked up on this, but I do think it's a matter of sort of when, not if, almost these days on this kind of thing, unfortunately. And that's the nature of society that we live in. And I don't really like to be too political on my channel, but I do think that our society, in the UK anyway, has gone this direction for a reason, because there are more opportunities for the powers that be, for HMRC, for the government to make more from their citizens. And we are just, I think, unfortunately, little bits of cash cows right now, it seems. And I had a very interesting thing on the radio the other day. There was a radio presenter who was very proud of the amount of tax that he pays every year. And he's never joined up to the military, and neither have I. And there are different ways of being patriotic in every walk of life. And he said his way of feeling patriotic to the UK right now is the humongous tax bill that he pays twice a year. One in January and one in July. And I kind of understand that. I have tax bills twice a year. I pay my tax. I enjoy declaring my tax. People might disagree with that. But then there were some commenters on there that said that people who have the means by which to evade taxes legally through various different loopholes and tax loopholes shouldn't. They should pay more. They should voluntarily pay more. And that's where I kind of have an opinion of difference with these people, because I'm very much of the mind that you should only pay the tax that you are legally required to pay. You shouldn't be going more. You shouldn't certainly be voluntarily paying more tax than you should. And I think there are definitely ways by which gold and silver can be utilized to help reduce tax burdens and tax bills legally. And that's what I've been doing with a lot of my tax affairs for sovereigns and investments in capital gains exempt products and non-CGT stuff. You've seen over the last few years, I've been trading out some of my non-CGT gold for CGT exempt gold, using the thresholds every year for myself and Mrs. Backyard Bullion. There are ways of doing this. And I hope a little bit of evidence that if you do these things correctly, that ultimately it's not about hiding from the taxman and hiding from the Fed and being off the grid with gold and silver. It's about living an appropriate life with your money and with your investments. And that's, I think, more valuable than anything. And there's nothing I could imagine worse than living with like it hanging over your shoulder and looking behind you all the time to think, or looking at the postbox every morning going, oh God, is today the day I get the HMRC letter? What on earth is going on? Like, I just don't understand why people would want to live that way. And like when they're vehemently of the opinion that they should be able to do as little as they can because that's their God-given right not to pay taxes. I mean, look, we can all disagree about what taxes are paid for and how they're paid, or what they're paid for, what they pay for. Sorry, that's the phrase I was looking for. We can all disagree on the best way to use taxes and how much taxes perhaps should be levied. But I think we could all agree that taxation is a good thing ultimately, because it means that we can fund society. As I say, how we fund society is a different matter, and how efficiently we fund society is a very important matter. Not really one that I want to delve into on this channel, but still the point remains that gold and silver's role in all of this is not, in my opinion, a replacement for cash. It's not a way to beat the system. It's a way to use the rules that are currently in the system to better our lives, to better our financial positions. And doing it legally is a really important thing. And I've seen it so many times over the last few years of people just ignoring the rules. And like, fine, look, everyone's their own master of their own keep. But I can tell you right now that at some point there will be a lot of people who will get caught up, and they will get very, very badly stung by the system that they are trying to avoid, thinking that they can be avoided. If you think, honestly, right now in this 21st century, in this digital crypto age of AI algorithms, comment scrapers and social media, if you genuinely think that you can live off the record, off the books, please let me know in the comment section, because it's, in my opinion, impossible. Even to this day, there are still plenty of shops out there that just don't accept cash anymore. And it's the same with a lot of businesses now. Cash is actually quite a burden for a lot of businesses. It actually costs you money to pay cash into your bank account. For me, I don't accept cash for a lot of the stuff that I do, because it's just a burdensome thing. It really is. So, yeah, it's a difficult world and a difficult time. And cash, I think, look, it's good to have some cash in society, but gold is better for that long term. Is it a replacement? No. Will we see things like gold backs replace the dollar? No. Will we see gold backs replace everyday gold? No, they're just too expensive as a premium item. And I just want to finish this video as well by going on the premiums of this stuff. When you see people who are buying and selling these products on various different platforms, there are plenty of different platforms out there. I'm not going to name names. I'm certainly not going to name businesses. But when they hype them up and they sell them for high profits, the only people who make money from these things are the people who retail them. Ultimately, that's just the way it is. That's just the nature of it. The markup on these is about double the value of the gold. And if you go and sell these to Atkinson's or Chard's, one of the big bullion dealers in the UK, you're going to get peanuts from what you paid. So the only way you make money on this, it's like the gold rush. The people who make the most money in the gold rush are not the people mining the gold out the ground. They're the people selling the shovels. So just be very conscious of that. Anyway, and the analogy there of the people who are selling the shovels, they're like the content creators who are sponsored by it. They're the dealers who are selling the gold backs. They're not, you're using these gold backs thinking, yeah, I'm getting a good deal for this stuff, but actually it's not. It's the people who are selling it and the people who are making it that are making the bank on that. It's just a product. It's just like any other product out there right now, unfortunately. So it's my opinion on it only. Right, that's my thoughts on today's precious metal ramble. Let me know yours down in the comment section. For those cool kids, I think we've got to say that's a nice full bag, Backyard Bullion. That's your comment for today. I want to address the giveaways for the cool kids. I have been lax, right? I've been lax. I haven't forgotten them. But what I've decided to do is actually roll these into the 100K giveaway, because it's nicer, I think, to be able to do that all in one go for people. It's easier for me to manage. It's easier for me to be transparent with it. So I am still giving away one Silver Britannia every month. We haven't done one yet this year. It's so we've got January, February, March, currently in March. We're on track to hit that 100K subs probably within the next 2 months, I'm going to say, depending on how fast the channel keeps on growing. And then we've got our 10-year anniversary in early July. So my plan is to have a 100,000 subscriber giveaway. We're currently talking with various different sponsors that we have on the channel to donate prizes. We've already got a Sigma machine from Trusty Metrics. We've already got commitments from other, I'm not going to name names yet because we haven't finalized everything, but we've got commitments from other Delia Smith. No, she's not donating. They are donating things for the prize. But I want to make this event a super cool event. So we've got, of course, my kilo cube to give away, but I thought it would be really nice as well to be able to have January, February, March, April, May, June, and July's 1 ounce. I might not do July because we'll only be halfway through the month. So at least 6 1 ounce silver Britannias that we'll be giving away in that giveaway as well. And we're going to work out a way of doing it live, whether I host it or whether one of the most amazing other live streamers out there host it. I don't know yet, but we'll work out something. So that's where we are. The Cool Kids Club comments do still count. There will still be prizes for them. I will be doing those giveaways, but they will be rolled over into the 100,000 subscriber giveaway. That's just my decision. You're still going to get free stuff, hopefully. Hope that makes sense. Please don't crucify me down in the comments. There was one really, I mean, like people, I think I'm rambling here. We're 21 minutes in the video now. There are a lot of really nice people in this community, but there are also a lot of grifters, and there are a lot of people who just want stuff for free. And I get it every day. And there are people who go, I haven't seen you do the giveaway yet. Where is it? I was going to win it this month. I was sure. I'm not even joking. I get comments like that every day. So that's where we are. Okay. Cool kids, comment down below. Like, share, comment, subscribe for more.